we do not know, rather, what the future holds. Yesterday, it was Tropical Storm Erica and Hurricane Maria. Today, it is COVID-19. Who knows what it will be tomorrow? We are now in the hurricane season, and God forbid if we are to be affected by a storm this year after the impact of COVID-19 on the global economy. The fact is, we just don't know, Mr. Speaker, what could befall us. But there are two things that we can be assured of, Mr. Speaker. One is the love of God for all his people, particularly those of us here in Dominica. His hand of protection is always with us. And secondly, the fact that we have a Prime Minister and government who are well poised to respond to any uncertainty which we may encounter, and will do so with care and commitment for all our people. All our people, Mr. Speaker. No one is left behind. It doesn't matter if you didn't vote for us. It doesn't matter if these constituencies have traditionally not supported us, but we continue to care for all the people of Dominica, Mr. Speaker. We're certainly assured that this budget captures the spirit of progress and will turn out to be a circle of blessing for the nation. No pun intended, Mr. Speaker. The harvest is on its way for all Dominicans through this budget. Mr. Speaker, I am not surprised that the opposition has come here unprepared to respond to the contents of the budget. Yes. But Mr. Speaker, they have never been interested in putting forward ideas for the advancement of this country, so we should not be surprised. The leader of the opposition stood here for an hour and 40 minutes, cataloging a series of complaints and empty words which offered no alternative or direction for this country. Yes. And Mr. Speaker, realizing that he had a mere 5 minutes to end his misguided rhetoric, he attempted to springboard towards the finish line, but could not make it. He had to resort to a failed attempt at praying the Lord's Prayer. Someone beseeching the Almighty Father to assist him out of his dismal failures. Yes. But I am not surprised, Mr. Speaker. And you know what, Mr. Speaker, what I noticed? For once, he tried to contain himself and did not display any fury. But the other members of the opposition, whom themselves expected a more competent delivery and did not get it, they not wanting to upstage their leader's performance, have adopted a disposition of anger and disgust, not at the government side, but at their own leader, for what they know was the worst rebuttal to a budget you hear from the members of the opposition another set of empty words. Empty words, Mr. Speaker. How do you come to this Parliament, Mr. Speaker, after such a competent and forward-thinking budget? How do you come and oppose investments in agriculture as presented in this budget, Mr. Speaker? We have to be careful whom we send to represent us in this House. We have to be very careful whom we send to represent us. How do you oppose the investments in agriculture as preferred? And I listened with disgust to the senator, the senator from Nigeria, Senator Joseph, who suggested that we have heard of these interventions before, and that the United Workers' Party had put them forward. Nonsense, Mr. Speaker. They never did. The only thing that I remember that the United Workers' Party proposed to Dominica was $1 a pound for bananas, and it never happened, Mr. Speaker. keep our sheriff head. It never happened, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
That is the legacy of the United Workers' Party where agriculture is concerned. How do you come to this house, Mr. Speaker, and oppose interventions in support of our youth? Because when you oppose, you cannot just pull out certain parts of the budget and oppose it. You either support the entire budget or you oppose it. And so when they stand in opposition to this budget, they stand in opposition to all the wonderful interventions that are being proposed for the development of this country. So they oppose support for our youth. What will they say to our youth? Mr. Speaker, $10,000 being made available to young people who want to build new homes or buy property. How much better can it get for our young people? I wish I was under 40 at this point in time.
Yes.
To take advantage of this.
Yes. Yes. True.
Mr. Speaker, how can you come to this house and oppose investments in the housing sector, Mr. Speaker? So many of our people have been relieved and are living in much better conditions, Mr. Speaker, because of the interventions made by this government in the housing sector, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, another one. How can you oppose the investments in education, Mr. Speaker? How do you oppose the investments in education? Education has enabled so many of our young people and so many of our families to rise from poverty. Yes. And you come here and you oppose the investments in education. Mr. Speaker, how do you oppose the creation of the digital economy? A new intervention many speak at this time to a few interventions which will impact my constituency. And from the offset, I want to thank the people of the great constituency of Granby for having sent me to this house to represent them. I did not come to politics, Mr. Speaker, for power. I came to politics, Mr. Speaker, to bring transformation to my community, Mr. Speaker. And anybody who knows me knows that when it comes to finding opportunities for the people of Granby, I am at the top of the game. All the members here will tell you that when it comes to Granby, I am selfish. I will say, I want this for Granby. And I look forward to getting it for my constituency, Mr. Speaker. I make no apologies for that. The Prime Minister is right here, he knows that. He knows that when I come to him, I say, PM, I want this for Granby. And sometimes I can get it, other times I know I have to do otherwise. But thank you anyway, PM, for all the times that I have come to you and said, PM, Granby. And he's always suggested, okay, Ed, we'll try. All right? Thank you, PM. But, Mr. Speaker, Granby, along with the other southern constituencies, stand on the threshold of positive transformation, which will redound to the benefit of our constituents. Efforts towards embracing a digital economy, the new thrust in agriculture, education, and healthcare, as well as the continuation of the housing revolution, will ensure that our people are empowered to succeed. Mr. Speaker, I look forward to my constituents, particularly the youth and those who are IT savvy, getting involved in the enabling of the digital economy. Jobs will be created, and there lies the opportunity for innovation, creativity, and the facilitation of all sectors. I foresee community shops and boutiques along the Lale in Granby, and small businesses being able to accept payments online, and a reduction in the amount of time spent in long lines to access services which will now be available online. I look forward to inviting the Minister and his staff to Granby at the soonest possible time following the passage of this budget to dialogue with my constituents about the possibilities that this new sector will present. Mr. Minister, be on notice. Absolutely. That's right. In healthcare, Mr. Speaker, we in Granby are fortunate that our health center was selected to be transformed into a smart health center. And you heard from the Minister of Health. Thank you, Honorable Minister. The works are ongoing at the Granby Health Center as we speak, and I understand that it is almost 50% completed. On completion, the health center will be retrofitted with structural elements to ensure stability against hurricanes, earthquakes, and other natural disasters. What this means further, Mr. Speaker, is that in the event of a natural disaster, the health center will quickly become fully operational in very little time in the wake of a natural disaster. And of course, there are several other amenities that the health center will portray. I am hopeful that further interventions will be made in the near future to improve the facilities to the standard of a full-fledged hospital with various amenities to serve the Southern Health District. Mr. Speaker, allow me at this time, while we are on the matter of health, to extend congratulations to Dr. Ken Jacobs, who is one of my constituents who recently graduated in Cuba as the first Dominican urologist, Mr. Speaker, and is getting ready to serve. Mr. Speaker, in the area of education, let me take time off to commend the students of the Granby and Tetmon primary schools who were successful at the Grade 6 national assessments and who are now getting set to attend the secondary school in September. Their parents can rest assured that the government will provide support to assist in meeting some of the expenses in sending their children to school, as is done every year. Mr. Speaker, I have worked towards supporting both primary schools with the assistance of Granbarians in the diaspora who have contributed basic equipment and stationery to support the schools. Mr. Speaker, the Granby constituency will feature highly on the agenda of the Ministry of Education this year. The Granby Primary School is set to be completely refurbished with funding from the Canadian government. And a new Tetmon Primary School is to be built with funding from the People's Republic of China. On behalf of my constituents, I extend fervent thanks to the governments of Canada and China for their tremendous support to the development of education in the Granby constituency. Both projects are expected to come on stream during this fiscal year. Mr. Speaker, my constituency is also set to benefit from the investments in road repair and construction. Under the Community Road Rehabilitation Program, Granby, like all other constituencies, will see the construction of at least one new community road, and that will take place in an area that we call Felicity. That will be the first one in the Granby area. However, I have indicated that I have identified several more constituency roads which require urgent attention. And so, I will continue to advocate for these roads to be constructed. Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, with the passage of Hurricane Maria in 2017, a critical portion of the road leading to the entrance of the community of Granby was seriously compromised. A landslide upstream a dry ravine caused major siltage, which poses a threat to property around the compromised portion of the road and is also in need of urgent attention. Over the past few months, I have worked closely with the Ministries of Finance and Public Works to obtain designs and funding to address the affected area. I am pleased to report that the project has now entered the tendering phase and is expected to see works begin within weeks, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, housing development is another area which has positively impacted the Granby constituency. I can report that very soon, 30 families will benefit from a consignment of new apartments which will be handed over to residents. And Mr. Speaker, I can tell you that there are 30 apartments, but 300 people want them. 300 people want them. And I've said to some of my people that, you know, it's only Jesus I heard of who could multiply, 2 fish and 5 loaves to fill 5,000 people. If I could, I would give everybody an apartment. But I implore my constituents to be patient, because there is more coming, Mr. Speaker. Be patient. There is a promise from the Honorable Prime Minister that a further 70 homes will be constructed in the constituency. But I have already indicated that there will be a need to provide at least 200 or 300 more to meet the demands of the constituency. Mr. Prime Minister, please take note. And I am confident that this request will find favor as government seeks to provide resilient housing for Dominicans throughout the country. As part of the continuing housing revolution, I have also proposed to the government to assist in the regularization of more than 26 housing lots in the Grand Colibri area. These families have occupied private lands for several generations and have been limited in their ability to improve their living conditions without the possession of certificates of title. I have discussed the situation with the Honorable Minister of Finance, and he has promised to consider the request favorably. Mr. Speaker, agricultural development is also set to continue to impact positively on my constituency. Mr. Speaker, the arable lands of Mopo, Makaton, and Vieux-Bois on the Geneva estate have always been viewed as some of the best lands for cultivation in the country. They are well suited for the production of a wide variety of crops. However, there are two main areas of challenge for the farmers who farm in these areas. They have to grapple with drought conditions brought about by climate change and the deterioration of the farm access rule. I am able to report, Mr. Speaker, that I have already obtained and submitted estimates for the repairs of the farm road, and I anticipate that it will be given attention during this fiscal year. I have also begun the process of designing an irrigation system for the area. I am hopeful that funding will be obtained in the near future to respond to this critical need in food production and, of course, to enable us to take advantage of the new technologies for agriculture, which would be aquaculture and hydroponics and greenhouse production, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I can also report on the commencement of an exciting collaboration between a few farmers in the Tetmon area and the Chinese Agricultural Mission. This is an exercise aimed at the cultivation of exotic fruits to supply the local market and for export. The Tetmon area possesses the right conditions for the cultivation of strawberries and other similar fruits. The Chinese Agricultural Mission has begun to provide planting materials to the farmers in the area, and we look forward to the development of this venture as a new income-generating program for our farmers, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I am also eyeing the proposed reinstating of the prawn hatchery at Belfast, Mr. Speaker. With that in place, I have every intention to encourage farmers in my area whose holdings are in close proximity to fresh-flowing streams to take advantage of prawn farming as another opportunity to attract high income from sales to our developing hotel sector and for export, Mr. Speaker. At this juncture, I wish to take time off to commend the efforts of a group of farmers in the Grand Bay area who have decided to form themselves into a farmers' cooperative. As a longtime supporter of cooperatives myself, I understand the benefits to be derived from this initiative, and I pledge my full support to the farmers in their endeavors. Mr. Speaker, fishing is also being seen as a growing sector in the Grand Bay area, as many of our young men are now embracing the art of fishing. In collaboration with the parliamentary representative for the Pidit Savan constituency, Honorable Dr. Kenneth Daru, it is our intention to develop the Stowe Fish Landing site to accommodate fisher folks from Grand Bay and the rest of the Southern District. Some works have commenced to develop a proper slipway and to develop a sheltered area for boats. I look forward to the further development of that site as a multi-purpose landing site to accommodate much more than just fishing, Mr. Speaker. What I mean is that I hope it could soon be built as a tourist port, as a port of entry, Mr. Speaker. We're talking transformation here, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the southern communities will not be left behind, Mr. Speaker, in this whole transformation effort that is sweeping across the country, Mr. Speaker. I told you that is what I came to politics for, Mr. Speaker, to help to transform our rural communities, Mr. Speaker. And I will stand resolute in support of development. Our rural communities must develop simultaneously with our urban centers, Mr. Speaker. It must happen. Mr. Speaker, in the area of sports, I wish to thank the Dominica Football Association and FIFA for their support for the development of the Geneva playing field. Mr. Speaker, FIFA has provided over $50,000 US, which has been used for a drainage project on the Geneva playing field to address issues of waterlogging. And that was very important because after both Hurricane Maria and Tropical Storm Erica, the Geneva River inundated the Geneva playing field. And having been a swamp before it was made into a playing field, waterlogging was an issue. And we recognized the need for us to address that. And we are happy that FIFA provided the funding. But it is not finished yet. And I was happy to hear the Minister of Sports mention that there will be further support given for the development of the Geneva playing field. Mr. Speaker, I can also report to the young people of Granby that we have been working towards improving basketball in the Granby constituency. And basketball rims, modern basketball rims, have arrived in the country to be installed at the center basketball court as well as at the Myrtutus back court, and we will see those very soon, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there are a number of initiatives which will impact positively on the Granby constituency, including the continuation of repairs to the Granby community and youth centers. These have been ongoing, and we look forward to the completion of these two projects. We'll also see the development of agro-processing facilities and small factories to provide jobs for our people. The development of a gas station to ensure energy security and support for community groups in the area of sports and culture, as well as other NGOs who continue to impact on the development of the community. In the long term, we will pursue road projects to link neighboring communities and seek to incorporate major transformational projects which will impact the community. Mr. Speaker, I now want to speak to a few developments related to the portfolio that I am honored to lead, the portfolio of diaspora relations. Mr. Speaker, you will recall that in the manifesto of the Dominica Labour Party for the 2019 general elections, we proposed for a greater and more fulfilling engagement of the Dominican diaspora with the intention of ensuring that Dominicans who reside overseas could play a more critical role in the development of the country. Mr. Speaker, this is no easy undertaking, especially in this era of COVID-19, when so many Dominicans overseas are looking towards their homeland for opportunities in response to the pandemic. Since the reopening of our borders, I have been inundated with calls and inquiries from Dominicans in the diaspora who are first of all proud of our ability to keep the pandemic under control and for keeping their relatives here in Dominica safe. They are also seeking to either return home or to be guided on opportunities to invest in Dominica. The creation of the Dominica Entrepreneurship Visa Program, as outlined in the budget, provides opportunities for our diasporans, including those who have adopted our country through the Citizen by Investment program, to invest and participate in the dynamic Dominica Thrust, which we continue to promote. Another initiative which is being developed is the Diaspora Fund, which could embrace platforms such as crowd and hedge funding to direct investments towards community development projects, particularly in our rural communities. My ministry is now reviewing the diaspora policy to make it more relevant to the needs and aspirations of those living in the diaspora. The development of a skills registry is underway, and we hope that this will enable the ability of diasporans who have acquired various skills in their host countries to take advantage of opportunities to return home on brief engagements to impart their knowledge and skills to different sectors of our society. We will also seek to create e-newsletters to inform in a vice versa manner about the developments of our people both here and abroad. We will develop a virtual Hall of Fame to honor the achievements of Dominicans overseas and to highlight them online. At this point, I pause to congratulate Ms. Frances Del Sol in Canada for having been appointed Executive Director of the Black Business and Professional Association in Canada. The BBPA was founded in 1983 and is a charitable organization aiming to advance Canada's Black community. Obviously, Black Lives Matter, Mr. Speaker, and we congratulate Ms. Frances Del Sol for securing that position. At this point, Mr. Speaker, I wish to recognize the tremendous support that the Dominican diaspora has given through remittances for many years, as well as the support given to various institutions around the island. We certainly value their support and look forward to close collaboration and participation in activities organized by Dominicans living abroad. Close collaboration between the Diaspora Relations and the Ministry of Tourism will see further investments in the promotion of Dominica overseas, and our diaspora certainly is well placed and determined to assist in this regard. I also wish to empathize with the many Dominicans in the diaspora who have encountered COVID-19. Many have resorted to the good old herbal medicinal knowledge that they carried with them from their days in Dominica, and Mr. Speaker, they have survived. But we know of several Dominicans who have succumbed to the disease, and we extend sympathies to their families, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I stand ready through the portfolio of diaspora relations to embrace all our Dominicans living overseas and to provide the support required to enable them to continue promoting and supporting initiatives for the advancement of our homeland. Mr. Speaker, you have heard the saying, all who have eyes, let them see. Mr. Speaker, I have seen how this Dominican Labour Party has transformed this country and is continuing to do so. I have seen how people's lives have been improved. Mr. Speaker, that is what this budget is all about. This budget is transformative. They hate to hear it on the other side of the house, but it is a fact. These timely interventions could only come from the Dominican Labour Party as we continue along the path which we began years ago. This budget is well adapted to our current situation. So what have we done, Mr. Speaker? You heard it. We have been investing millions in agriculture to ensure food security and foreign exchange, protecting livelihoods and feeding our neighbors. We continue to invest in healthcare, and our success in the management of COVID-19 pandemic. One of the first countries in the region to be in a position to do PCR testing, and with our strategic alliances with the People's Republic of China, Cuba, and Venezuela, among others, as well as the competent leadership of the Minister and Ministry of Health, we can be proud of our achievements so far, Mr. Speaker. Investments in building resilient housing and keeping our environment pristine and safe. The international airport on the horizon, and investments in tourism and small business, investments in our youth and our people on a whole. This is what this budget brings forth, Mr. Speaker. Before I end, Mr. Speaker, I wish to thank my Permanent Secretary, Mrs. Daly, and the staff of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, International Relations, and Diaspora Relations for their tremendous support. Thanks to our leaders in the diaspora, Mr. Speaker.
10 more minutes, Honorable Minister.
That's okay. Thanks to our embassies right here in Dominica, the embassies of Venezuela, Cuba, and the People's Republic of China, who have all provided tremendous support to our endeavors, Mr. Speaker. And of course, Mr. Speaker, I also pay tribute to my constituents, the people of the great constituency of Granby, for their tremendous support for me, their prayers, and their love. I thank you, and I love you even more. This budget, Mr. Speaker, is for all Dominicans. Let us embrace the future with confidence as we grow the economy and ensure a higher standard of living for all our people. So, Mr. Speaker, it is against this backdrop that I throw my full support behind the 2020-2021 national budget. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I want to say to the member for Granby, Tetmon, Montaigne, Bordeaux, Grand Colibri, Hagley, Geneva House, that I am in total, absolute support of all the requests put forward in respect to the Granby constituency. And I believe that every effort must be made by the government to ensure we deliver to the people of that constituency. We owe them a lot, and whatever they get, and they will deserve every single dollar. Mr. Speaker, having witnessed and listened to some formidable contributions by the government side today, I wish to move that the House be adjourned until tomorrow morning. Clearly, this government is giving an exceptional account of its stewardship really in the last 6 months. In the last 6 months, in the midst of a global shutdown and an unprecedented situation confronting the world, Dominica included. And for us to be able to stand and speak about so many achievements and to be able to present a budget in this time when other countries are talking about cut, the government is talking about stimulate, empower. And, you know, difficult times, but very exciting times ahead, Mr. Speaker. I move that the House, for taking that privilege, I move that the House be adjourned until 10 a.m. tomorrow morning.
It has been moved and seconded that the House be adjourned until 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. House stands adjourned until 10 a.m. For the first, yes. So House stands adjourned until 10 a.m. Friday, 31st of July 2020.